All right, we are recording. This is Jason with Cryptosomniac, and we have got Xiaohui, the chief blockchain scientist for ContentBox. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about the technicals of ContentBox and see if we can get to the bottom of some of the more technical aspects that I didn't get to cover with Calvin. So, how's everything going? Where are you based? Are you in the Western Hemisphere? Or?
Oh, I'm in the Silicon Valley.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, Palo Alto.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that. I when I talked to Calvin, he was in China, so I wasn't sure what time frame. We're in the same time zone. This is great.
Yeah, where are you based?
We're in Los Angeles, but I actually just moved here recently from the Bay Area. I've been in San Francisco since 2002, so
Wow.
I'm fond of the Silicon Valley, certainly.
Oh, nice, nice.
Cool. Well, I read through the white paper, and I had a conversation with Calvin last week, and so I did have, when we got the chance to set up with you, I did have some particular questions. After reading through the white paper, that I figure you would be qualified to answer. So, for instance, I know in reading the white paper, you said transaction scaling on Bitcoin and Ethereum probably not going to work at this time. So you guys were developing your own blockchain. With that in mind, I'm curious, why didn't you look at, say, maybe Hedera Hashgraph or potentially EOS or even Stellar? They claim pretty fast transaction times. And curious why you opted for your own blockchain rather than going with one of those.
So first of all, when we started this project, when we write the white paper, it was around January and February of this year. So as you know, like at that time, where there's no like a EOS, which was just launched, I think yesterday or this morning or something.
Yeah, the mainnet. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was not, an option at that time.
Sure.
Also for Stellar, I think we did some quick back of the envelope calculation. I think they claim like, if I remember correctly, it's around like 1,000 transactions,
Yeah,
something
correct.
like that. So if we do the simple math, like say we have about 17 million users now, and then each one of them doing like, I don't know, like listen to a few podcasts and do some tipping. So we run up like, we can take up, I don't know, maybe the majority of the whole total throughput, just having the assumption that we are the only user there, which is probably not the case. So, because I think because the huge number of users we already have, and the frequency they're going to transact with each other. So I think that's why at that time we conclude probably is most realistic for us to develop our customized and lean blockchain from scratch. But as I said, that's our like a very initial idea. We also write somewhere in the white papers claiming we also keep an eye on all the latest blockchain technology over there. So if by the time we want to launch the tokens, or when we in the development phase, if there are better options coming up, which can suit our requirement, we also look at the other options as well. I think even at this moment, we also look at some other like EOS you have mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
Atomism, and also some other public chain projects out there like Thunder. I don't know if you heard about it. It's near. So we talked with some guys over there, and also there's a project from Singapore called Zilliqa.
Oh yeah, I'm aware of them. Mm-hmm.
Also high throughput. So I've been talking with them too. So actually, we have been kind of like internally. We just launched our first crypto wallet based on Ethereum. We actually launched it like last week.
Okay.
And at the same time, we're also doing kind of an internal testing of this a few chains I mentioned, like yes, right? They just launched, so we're also looking at this option as well. But at this moment, so we're not ruling out the possibility to build on other better blockchains if they can suit our requirements. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. So with that, I know part of what your goal was having some interoperability, or I was reading specifically about like the Box Passport, having interoperability to function similar to like a Google or a Facebook login where you can use it across the web. So
Yes.
with that, do you anticipate that you would be able to use your Box Passport across blockchains, or is it just primarily for dApps within the ecosystem? Are you going to be able to interact with Ethereum or something like that?
I think probably the latter option, because once we lock up the blockchain, either we customize our own or we build on some high throughput public blockchain out there. I think that's much easier, at least from the engineering effort perspective, because if you have just lock up one online blockchain and then you build some kind of like a middleware which Castbox and other apps can integrate into, we can build also like a cross app unified login ID, but within one blockchain. So when we talk about the cross blockchains, I think technically is doable by some kind of like a cross chain solutions, but I would imagine that would be like multiple times of efforts instead of doing on one chain only. I'm not ruling that out, maybe, but I'm thinking at this moment that latter option, just locking up on one specific chain, is more likely.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, especially from an engineering perspective. We talked with a few other people that are focusing on interoperability, and it seems like it's a very difficult challenge to tackle, considering there's so many different blockchains and
it's not completely solved yet, as far as I know. And also, like when you take one individual chain, it's like you have to double your effort. Like take one, then you take two, because these two are like most likely completely independent. So the underlying like even lower interface probably is totally different.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that being a lot easier. So then I know one thing that you guys had, one thing that I was grilling Calvin on was user adoption. How do you plan to do that? Which he answered pretty sufficiently, is that you already have a massive user base. So I know you guys are going to open up the wallet to the existing users. Will there be like, are they getting airdropped? Because I'm trying to puzzle out a little bit more about how does ContentBox generate revenue at this point? Because if most platforms are currently, like Spotify is using creator content and then charging for access to that content, and they don't really pay out much. So you're going to be paying out to artists, but you're also or creators, I should say, but you're also going to be paying out to users for their attention or for social media shares, things like that. So I see a lot about paying out, and that sounds great for keeping user adoption, but how do you plan to generate revenue on the platform itself to be able to continue to make those payouts?
Okay, I can kind of put this in. I think we are talking about two separate entities here. So first of all, is this a blockchain effort called the ContentBox, and the part is about our sister company, our like strategic first partner called Castbox. Right. So I first address the first part. I mean, as far as the first part is concerned, it's like any other blockchain project out there. So we have our distribute all these tokens. So out of these all tokens, we keep a pool for ourselves. And also, so that's step one. We keep some portion for the development and research. Right. The second part, we do some magic. Just hear me over, but let's just this stuff is make our tokens more useful. So we have more demand because the supply is limited, so the price will go up. And third is, of course, you will profit from this. I think this is like a standard business model for all this blockchain profit. I think then that begs the question of number two, right? Which then is coupled with the second part of this question, which is how does let's say our strategic partner, for example, the first one is Castbox, benefit from this, because it seems you are only handing out money, revenue, but you are not taking any. I think I just explained for the first part, right? Basically how this ContentBox project is going to benefit. Right. And then let's dive into the second part, which is Castbox. I think of course, from first impression, you seem like you are only handing out free tokens. You are not taking any revenue additional. So it seems maybe that's like a loss to Castbox. But if you think about it, it's more of the opposite. So first of all, right, we integrate these tokens. So the idea is to use these tokens as an incentive mechanism to attract more content creators to come to Castbox platform, and also want to encourage users to engage more. Let's say, oh, if you like a podcast host, I don't know if you host podcasts or not.
Oh, sure.
If you do,
we
right?
don't host a podcast, but I listen to several podcasts, so I'm definitely a consumer of them.
Yeah, if you are, let's say you are a consumer, right? You go to, I don't know, SoundCloud or Apple Podcast.
Oh,
you
sure.
just listen to there, and then you may even share, or even some platform. You can even like Castbox. You can comment, you can like, you can flag. You know, you do all this kind of it's actually your valuable time, right? You are just hanging out doing passive stuff. It's all valuable contribution. So instead of just letting all the platforms take everything, I mean, like profits wise. So imagine you do all this kind. Let's say even you listen and also share, you like, comment, all this kind of contribution into the platform to curate this stuff. You can also get rewards in terms of our tokens. Right. Okay. So that our hypothesis, I think even the industry is the big hypothesis we want to verify is by incentivize users being part of the ecosystem, they are going to be more active and they're going to invite or bring more new users into the system because they have a stake in the project. And also for like especially if you are content creators, like say you create podcasts, like you used to just, I think even if unless you are top podcaster, hoster, you are like 99%, you don't earn anything other than, of course, you may have some recognition, because you feel emotionally satisfied, people listen to your content, but that's pretty much about it, right? So imagine if your content goes viral, and based on the more popular you get, that means the more value you bring to the system, right?
Sure.
And so if you want to be fair, you should be also rewarded accordingly, right? I mean, we can do this with tokens. So to sum it up, basically, we want to use this leverage of tokens mechanism to bring more traffic, like users or content creators on Castbox or any other strategic partner we are going to have. Does this make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's because I had looked and do I recall this correctly? You guys are planning on having a no transaction fee network. Is that correct, or am I?
I think.
Am I mixing that up?
It's close. So we want very low transaction fee, or some of them minimum, or some of them even can be totally free. That's also possible because think about this kind of for our platform, we would imagine, right? So let's say you pay for some premium content, right? You tip somebody. It's not going to be like in terms of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. It's going to be like in the low range. So you want to make sure your fee is very, very low.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. You tip one person $1 and then it costs you 50 cents of even $5. Like
right, exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. You've got to have a fair proportion. I mean, that's half of the problem with content creators, and platforms now is they upload content and intermediaries skim a significant portion of it off before it ever gets back to the creator.
Yeah, if not 100%.
Okay, so let's see. What else did I have for you here? Yeah, let's talk about proof of network effect. So I know you said this is a derivation of proof of stake. And I know that you're sort of going Internet of Things route, right? I mean, effectively, you're using mobile phones as nodes. So a question I had specifically on there is, what sort of problems or how do you anticipate overcoming the problem of, say, for instance, somebody on a cell phone is acting as a node, and then they go into an area with no coverage in the middle of processing a transaction, or worse yet, they don't have unlimited data and they run out of data in the middle of processing it. How does the system deal with that sort of eventuality, because you can't really plan for it, but it's bound to happen sooner or later in the course of, especially if the network gets as broad as you guys are targeting. So how would the system address that?
Yeah, of course. Good question. So first of all, let me say is probably we haven't made it super clear, crystal clear in the white paper, but when we say but the understanding where each node is going to run on something like a user's cell phone, that's not practical. Right. So as an analogy, right? Let's look at Bitcoin, right? So when you do you use Bitcoin?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because so I don't think people is going to run like a full node or mining node on their mobile phone.
No, there's no way. I don't even think there's enough processing power to do it.
No, not at all. So as a regular user, I don't think you ever have to do to run like a full node. Or validator in our case. Basically, you don't have to do this heavy lifting. So the heavy lifting of this payment and also settlement is going to be run in some like I would say specialized node, whatever that may be. But on a user cell phone, it's probably going to some kind of like lightweight client, like SPV as in Bitcoin, simple payment verification node. So, and also if you look at Bitcoin, right, as an analogy, I'm just using, it's very similar. So in Bitcoin, right, when you do receive, you don't have to be online, right?
Correct.
Actually, you don't. You have the address. You do whatever. Whether you're online, offline, doesn't matter. You're offline for 1 year, doesn't matter. You come back. If anybody sends you a payment, it will be there. Yep. So you don't have to be connected. That's not a requirement.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Let's see what else. So yeah, I guess this would be another question on that, but you may have actually already answered this question. Was just, did you think that that data flow would create any bottlenecks in it? Because like, say for instance, I'm in Los Angeles right now. I've got fantastic coverage on my network, but say if I were traveling abroad and they'll throttle my data down, do you anticipate that causing any problems with the network?
Not really. Actually, I think that's always the differentiator of the kind of like, I would call it a full node and also like a lightweight node. So like a regular user, for even let's say you use Castbox or any other app partner we have in the future, we already have a few like that will be on board, like some like doing some I think all videos, and also somebody doing like kind of like a cartoon fiction series that we are in negotiating. But let's get back to the question. So there are always two types of nodes. The first one is running the consensus one, the full nodes.
Right.
They are going to be like have a lot of resources, like even like a desktop or even some kind of like a big, if not data center, but they have a high-end machine. Mm-hmm. Always, right? And the second part is the regular users. The idea is the regular users doesn't have to run and keep a copy of the chain all the time. So that's not a concern. I mean, for for the full nodes, of course, it's the business, right? So they have the skin in the game. So they have to compete to upgrade the let's say network or storage or processing power.
Right.
To that, it doesn't make sense for regular users to, because I'm just using the token. I don't have to do all the maintenance work or upgrade my hardware. I just have to maintain a lightweight client. That's it.
Okay.
Whether you're Los Angeles or you go to like Yosemite for a weekend hike, you come back. Yeah, if it's payment for you, you'll be there. You will never lose any amount that's sent to you.
Okay, I guess I was maybe I didn't understand it when I read. I was under the impression that the phones were acting as servers to distribute content as well. Is that not the case?
Not the case.
Okay, cool. Then I just misunderstood.
Yeah, I think maybe there's a misunderstanding here. So of course, when you are using some app, right?
Right.
So that kind of content, of course, you are uploading to, let's say, to the cloud or somewhere else. but that piece of content itself will probably, I would say, it will certainly not be on chain itself.
Right.
Because
Right.
for
The
blockchain,
chain just points the map to where the
yes,
server that hosts the data.
exactly.
That makes sense.
Makes
And
sense.
then, well, so then if the content is not displayed on the chain, or is not, how then would it be protected, right? If it's not stored on the chain, if it's still in a centralized server somewhere, then it's still sort of centralized, and that's still vulnerable to attack. I mean, it might not, it'd be harder to, crack. Obviously, they can't easily crack the encryption to be able to find the map to where it is per se. But if someone were to find where that data were stored, they could still kind of mess with the system, couldn't they? Am I?
Okay, so of course they can, but think about it from an attacker's point of view, right? So let's say you upload a podcast. Okay, so I'm trying to imagine from the attacker's perspective. So why would you hack somebody's podcast? And I mean, if it's like a wallet, right? I could imagine. But I think the risk here is, of course, we are assuming it's a rational attacker.
Sure.
So, right, it's just not to mess around the system for no obvious reason. So why would? So here's the thing. So let's say a very simple way, just off the top of my head. So let's say we keep some piece of content, let's say a podcast or a video, in some like cloud server, right? So then we can put some kind of like a hash on chain only to represent kind of like a tokenizing.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever somebody messes around with the content itself, this will say, oh, with the on-chain transaction will immediately detect it. So that's one part to make sure where the data is not tampered with, and also for the attack perspective. So what kind of motive you are thinking of? Like why would somebody just go on some data set?
Are you familiar with 4chan? They're like, it's a pure troll community. It's basically like Reddit. It was like, I think, a precursor to Reddit, but it's the entire community are just like it's people that get joy out of messing your life up, not for any reason other than it caused you a problem, right? And there are people that like this that exist in the world. So I just understand that and know that some people might like to wreck it just for the sake of wrecking it. You know what I mean? Not to have any other motivation of like gaining monetary or being able to get the content themselves, but just to mess it up for users because some people find joy out of that stuff. I don't know why, but there we have it.
Yeah, great. I think that's the kind of like the way I look at it is like a orthogonal question to it's pretty much independent of the content box, because if you think about this problem, right, you happens to doesn't matter what kind of platform you are. You are Netflix, you are YouTube, you are like I don't know, even Castbox.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think everybody has put the content on chain yet, right? So if you think you can mess up with ContentBox content, I think you can also mess up with the content as well. So whatever mechanism they use to protect the data, we are using the same thing to protect the content available for ContentBox as well.
Okay.
You see what I mean? Basically, I'm thinking this is not a unique problem for ContentBox.
Oh, certainly not. No, I just was wondering, if you had a specific, like if you thought through the use case or the potential hurdle and how you might overcome it. So, just curious on that. All right, let's see. What else did I want to know? Oh yeah, okay. So I have here. Put your tinfoil hat on. I have a tinfoil hat question. So this is specifically about the in-app search, right, or the in-audio search, right? You guys have built this technology, and I think that's fantastic for use. Like, say, if I wanted to go research certain blockchain projects or whatever I want to be into, like if I can search for content on your platform, awesome. I think that's great technology. There is a dark side potential to this. So I think, like, say, for instance, especially now that I know you guys are here in the United States, what happens when the NSA comes to you guys and says, we need this, we need the ability to use this particular algorithm to, spy on citizens, things like that. What's ContentBox's position on that? Like, how would you guys... Are you open to just saying, okay, you're the government, so we're going to give you what you want? Or, since you're trying to be a decentralized a decentralized platform, is that going to be something that's like, yeah, no, sorry, we're not willing to cooperate because we think that's, and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I'm just curious. I was just thinking about what happens if a government says we want to license that technology to use it to spy on their citizens.
Yeah, I think let's say broadly, right? So of course we are, even if we are it's a blockchain ecosystem. I mean, we still have to operate. Physically in some locations, right? For example, I'm in the Valley, and you're in Los Angeles. We have some team in Beijing as well. So wherever we are situated, until we get to the utopia, everybody is living in free land and no government, no fiat money. Right. Until the day comes, we still have to tackle with the reality. Basically, that means the bottom line is wherever we operate, we have to comply with the local laws, whatever that is, because I think my kind of like a personal take is, it's always to have some ideal goals to we aim to shoot, but we also live in the current reality. So let's say if you are in your case, right? Let's say the NSA comes out for our data. There are some technical solutions for this. Like just off the top of my head, we can say, maybe each user, they kind of have the key to their own content. So if you come to us, even for us, even we are a platform, we know where the data is, but we cannot even decrypt it. That's one solution, right? So there are some technical improvement, I would say, but outside that, whatever regulations they come.
Sure. Well, obviously I wouldn't recommend going against the United States government. That's never a good idea. Just curious. I just know, like, say for instance, like the NSA went to Apple and was like, hey, we need a backdoor into your messaging software. And Apple was like, no. Obviously, as the richest company in the world, they're going to have a little bit more leverage. But they just, cold denied access, which I was like, man, that's pretty cool. So just curious, where was the ethical stance on that for you guys?
Yeah. That's basically bottom line. We comply whatever local law we operate in, and there may be some technical options over there. Let's say I just give one example, right? What if, let's say, you are like content creator, you hold your own content creator key, right? So the thing that your copyrighted content, which only if you're concerned, you can anybody can access the content itself. But other than that, even the platform that's hosting the content, even if they want to comply with the government, but if they don't have the key, they cannot.
Right.
No, right. That's another option.
Well, so then while we're on that subject of having the key, because I know some of your, effectively you're using like a multi-signature, correct, to get access, like from content owner and content consumer, or the person who wants to be the content consumer, that's sort of using a multi-signature to be able to confirm that they are transacting with this is I might be getting off into the weeds here. Maybe I misunderstand how this works, but I know it's like it's a side chain smart contract, effectively, right? Like an off-chain smart contract executes. So,
I think that's a very low-level implementation detail, but that's definitely one option we could go. Basically, whenever, let's say, you want to access some on-demand content, right? How would that play out? I think that definitely one option is, like, say, whatever you mentioned, the multi-sig signature. That's one option. Basically, you hand out the one of the keys which can enable whoever is paying for the content to decrypt it. There are also other options as well. Like, say, we give some example in the white paper called Schnorr signature. So basically, after you pay, you get the access token. So there's no multi-sig involved. That's another option. So basically, we're probably not going to limit what kind of specific mechanism how users or creators to allow access or consumption of the content. We pretty much because we are building the platform, so we are going to open up a lot of options, and it's up to the content creator and consumer how they want to have some kind of like a agreement, which probably in the form of a smart contract. So we just provide the tools, and it's up to whoever uses the platform to decide which tool best suitable for their needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you want to use smart sig, go ahead. If somebody else wants to use Schnorr signature-based tokens, go ahead. Or any other options is whatever suits them best.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
All right. Well, I mean, that is effectively everything I had thought up ahead of time to ask you about. So, yeah, I guess I don't know. We could do some fun stuff as well. Like, say for instance, what's your since you guys are in Palo Alto, what's your favorite local restaurant out there?
Oh, okay. I like Fuki Sushi. I don't know, have you been? But
I have not.
Oh, basically, I used to work for Facebook, so they used to have Fuki Sushi branch restaurant in Facebook, and that's a big story though. And because Facebook when first operated, you know California Avenue, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sushi is over there, and Mark Zuckerberg his favorite restaurant. So when he moved to Menlo Park, he just moved the restaurant over there too. So
must be nice to have that kind of leverage. You guys are great. I need you to move with me.
If you have billions of dollars, that's what you can do, right?
Sure. I mean, if you can, I guess you know that's.
Yeah, that's kind of. It's like,
I'm sure he didn't go in and be like, "I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse." He probably was just like, "Hey, what do you say?" And they're like, "Yeah, this seems beneficial." Sure. Very cool. Do you guys get to any of the meetups in the area? Do you go out to that sort of stuff and network at all?
Yeah, once in a while we have it's just for now they have like a meetup conference, like multiple ones every single day. Yeah, I used to go to some. I just if the topics are interesting enough for me to go, I usually go. For these days, I think most time I spend on some research on the underlying technology for the next generation blockchain. So I go less often. But last week I went to some in the city. So they have a big meetup there. I think a lot of investors and crypto fans. I went there, and then a couple of weeks ago I was at the Stanford Bitcoin Club thing. Yeah, they also have some event there. So I for now, I think I still go if I find the topics interesting. So, yeah. How about you?
Yeah, well, we go to tons of conferences and meetups, and I mean, you know, we're the media, so we got to go to all that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, my next question was going to be, we're going to the Blockchain Economic Forum next week, or I guess this weekend in San Francisco. Do you guys have any plans to attend that or at all?
What's the name of the conference again?
Blockchain Economic Forum, BEF. It's an LA token event.
Okay. Yeah, that's never heard about that. Maybe I should check it out and see.
Yeah, just curious. The only reason I ask is because we're going. I was going to say, if you'd like to go meet up and meet in person, it'd be great to say hello.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen your face yet, so I should probably go.
Yeah, please do. Well, you know.
Send me a link, maybe?
Yeah, actually, I definitely can. Yeah, I will. I'll put that in the chat as soon as we finish up here. And yeah, it would be great to meet in person if you guys can make it. Obviously, it's kind of short notice at this juncture, but if you're gonna be in the neighborhood, would be great to say hello.
Yeah, last week there was a conference very interesting called a Tulip conference.
Oh yeah. I got an invite to that. We just couldn't make it happen, but
I like the name though.
Yeah.
Just on it. Yeah. Or even if I hold a conference, I call it something like a, I don't know, bubble.
Yeah, exactly. All right, very good. Well, yeah, I guess that'll wrap it up for us. I don't want to monopolize your whole day here, so we appreciate you coming on. And if you guys have any other announcements you'd like to make or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to have you on. Yeah,
keep in touch. Nice talking.
All right, outstanding. Well, hey, thanks very much for your time, and we'll go ahead and wrap this up. This has been very fun, and we look forward to talking with you again in the near future.
All right, talk to you soon.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of the day. All right.
You too.